What's up, VC, vinyl community, and people that are just strolling on YouTube? Cheers. Okay. This album, I was like, oh, I want to put on some, it's about how you feel. So I feel like hearing some electronic music. I put this album on, I got a while back. It's pretty much like one of those weird no-namers, but I like the sound of it. I got it for a good deal. And I had just had a feeling, I was like, maybe you should check what RPM, because it's a 12-inch or whatever, I just assumed that it was a 33 RPM. And I listened to this whole thing a few times at 33 RPM. And so today I see it small writing at the top, 45 RPM. Like, yeah, that makes a big difference. Obviously, like, way faster. The funny thing is, this album sounds amazing at 33 RPM also. It goes from being the soundtrack to like an action-packed movie right now to like the Nine Inch Nails vibe by slowing it down. So, you guys go for it. Light me up in the comment thread. So now I'm hearing the album for the first time as it's supposed to be played out. It's kind of funny. So all that, I've been listening to a lot of stuff, but I have listened to this a handful of times. This 2013 mix that I got this one because the normal one is selling for like quite a little kind of expensive now, at least in my local spot. So I figured I might as well get the double LP one that's kind of this different mix that where it seems like this is the mix that Nirvana originally wanted. So I was like, all right, this one became like cheaper. So I just liked the cover. I thought the cover looked cool. Now I've listened to it. Kind of got a coffee burp going there. It is definitely a rougher mix. It's not as smooth as the one that they released originally. And now this is just me assuming, using my imagination, because some of the stuff I remember hearing was that the record label got that a mix, either this mix or a mix similar to this, and they didn't like it. They were like, probably they have all this money invested in the band or whatnot, even though the band already made them all the money back tenfold. They said they didn't want to release it with this type of sound, and I think Kurt Cobain to probably meet, Nirvana to meet the label in the middle, they had so-and-so mix it and get a little smoother. And, but I think, let's just assume that this is the mix that Nirvana really wanted. And if that was the case, I feel like the reason being might be is that Nevermind was such a good produced album as far as sound quality. The songs are great. But Incesticide, even though those recordings were done before Nevermind, technically the album I'm pretty sure got released after Nevermind. As far as I remember as a kid, I remember there was Nevermind, and then all of a sudden they kind of promoted Incesticide as like Nirvana's new album, and we were all stoked on it. But when we got it, we knew right away, like, what the fuck, this sounds older. And then it was like all these different drummers and all this weirdness, and there was no internet back then, so you just kind of had to use your imagination. But everyone fell in love with Incesticide because it gave you more of what Nirvana sounded like before they became mainstream. And so maybe Nirvana was trying to get back to that Incesticide sound, where it was just a lot of demo recordings smashed onto one LP. Great album. I highly recommend getting the 45 RPM, or just, I don't know if they have a normal version of that, but the one I can only find a while back, was the 45 RPM one. And then this is so far ago that I didn't know. I was like, why is this 45 RPM? I thought that meant it was lower sound quality, because I thought if it's sped up faster, if it went slower, the needle could take its time to read everything in the grooves, and I didn't. Anyways, that was just I'm lighting me up on the comment thread on that one. But on this mix, when I listened to it, the kick drum sounds really muddy, really big, like if it was tuned kind of loose on the skin. And then the guitar sounds a little bit grittier, a little bit more they're probably using a fuzz pedal combined with the overdrive of the amp, it sounds like. But just, again, the guitars are a little bit grittier, a little bit chunkier. And The vocals almost sound dead the same though. It doesn't sound like they changed the vocals too much. It's mainly the guitar and the drums are the thing you notice the most on this album. And the kick drum most notably on the drums. So, sounds always a preference. At first I was like, whoa, this is almost... For me, because I've heard the one they released to the public back in 93 or whatever it was, 94. That was one I had as a kid. I listened to hundreds of times. All, you know what I mean? So this mix sounds quite a bit different at first because I've never heard it with these songs. I've heard Nirvana have, you know, different types of recordings that sound all different, but hearing these songs, you know, this whole album as a different mix, it is different. And so I wasn't expecting it to be this much different of a mix. So, do I like it better than the one they released to the public? Strange thing is, I feel like I don't. Because I got so used to the one that I've heard for most of my life, that this one sounds quite a bit different. Now, there's certain songs where the mix is perfect, where it really fits the song. The most one that I could say that way, like Milk It. Because the way that song is, the mix of this really fits that. So now I'm kind of curious about getting the other one on vinyl, the normal one. So, and just to have them, and and then do a little shootout. So, for you, if you don't have this one and you're thinking this one sounds better, that's debatable. It definitely sounds different. You might like this one better, but you might get it like, oh, it is kind of still great recording. It's still the takes that made it on the main cut, and just a little bit more raw. But the playing, they killed it as far as, which I feel like Nirvana always did. Even if they had a night where they might have had a couple rough corners, it didn't matter. It's music, it's art. So that night it was supposed to be that way. So anyways, that's my little Nirvana take for the day. I had a bunch of stuff musically on my mind right now. I was like, oh, I want to talk about this, talk about that. Like, I was just listening to this earlier. I was like, I'm going to go with that for right now. And something on the topic, on the Rudy Van Gelder topic, I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet here, under 10 minutes. He was talking about my drummer, Chris Bennett, amazing drum player. Feel totally honored to be able to have him in my band and be in a band with him. And he owns his own drumstick company. And I'm not trying to promote this, but it's pretty badass, called Bopworks. And they have a signature pair, I believe Art Blakey signature drumsticks. They're pretty badass. But they just good drumsticks in general. But my main point about him, besides being a great drummer, is he knows a lot about jazz. He's a little bit older than I am. And we were talking about the Rudy Van Gelder. He was saying how Rudy Van Gelder made a lot of his own recording equipment. Some of the first recordings he was doing were at his parents' house. And I was like, wow. And so he was saying that the reason some of his recordings sound so unique, not just, the players obviously were badass, but he was saying because that stuff he made himself, a lot of his recording equipment. I haven't really done too much reading up on that, but it's super interesting, so I kind of want to dive into that. I always just kind of assumed that maybe Rudy Van Gelder bought the equipment from somewhere else. I didn't know he was like an electronic wizard, so to speak, or not, So, anyways, similar to Les Paul. Les Paul built all his own stuff, and I find that super fascinating. I love that because I am not the most mechanically inclined person, I feel like. So to hear like Les Paul built his own pickups and guitar, or he built his own recording studio. He was the first one to do overlayer tracks of guitar, multi-layering of tracks of all the guitars. That's, for you people who don't know, that's where you have one guitar and then record another one on top of that and blend them all together. He was doing that way back in the day. So all these, so it's badass. So I'm going to go down the Rudy Van Gelder rabbit hole for a little bit. So, all right, that being said, I want to keep us under 10 minutes. Cheers, everybody. It's a very beautiful day outside. And play lots of vinyl. Stay positive. I'll see you guys next time.